As the IEC prepares to run the local government elections in under 2 months, a group of individuals and organizations have launched an anti-disinformation project, the 2021 Local Government Election Anti-Disinformation Project. Its partners include the former DA Member of Parliament, Phumzile Van Dam, and the Right to Know campaign. One of their aims is to explore why disinformation is so believable among South Africans. Adebayo Okeowo is the African Program Manager and joins us this afternoon live from Abuja, Nigeria. A very good afternoon to you, Adebayo. Thank you so much for being on Newzroom PM. Let's begin with why this is the moment that you feel is so important to launch this initiative.
Thank you, Thembekile, and it's good to be here. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak about this issue. It's super important to launch this disinformation project, or more specifically the anti-disinformation project, because we are seeing a rise of misinformation and disinformation, not just in South Africa, but across the continent at large. And we've seen how much harm can come as a result of that, especially during election processes as well. So this is being launched especially as South Africa gears up for its local government elections, so as to ensure that there are the right kind of information, people are filled with the right kind of information, no harm is caused, and that people can make the right and informed decision based on the factual information that's available to them. And we do not also see any form of breakout of violence based off of some sort of incitement or disinformation campaigns that may be launched by several parties.
And how important has social media become, especially in an African context, as far as the spread of information and disinformation in the run-up to elections?
Very good question. As an organization, as Witness, and being one of the partners on this disinformation project, we work at the intersection of human rights and technology. And so we see social media as sort of a double-edged sword. It's a very critical platform that avails people the opportunity to speak their truth and to disseminate information about what is going on in their communities. However, at the same time, we see that that has become the space through which people then undermine the truth and present counter-narratives that are very harmful and very unproductive in a democratic setting. So social media, if used the right way, definitely does help propel and advance human rights and, also propel the principles of democracy, access to information, freedom of expression, even in this modern times, access to education. But then if it's used the wrong way, which we're also seeing an increasing use of it through either deep fakes, shallow fakes, misinformation, disinformation, it then becomes harmful and counterproductive. And so our own goal is to hopefully encourage more people to use social media for the right reasons and be able to push back with the help of communities and help of the platforms themselves against any other nefarious use of social media.
Just on that point, how clear is the line between monitoring and addressing disinformation and what others say is stifling online conversation?
Again, very, very super important to address that, because we are very careful to draw a distinction. This project isn't meant to gag people. We are absolutely in support of the freedom of expression, but we want to call the attention to what becomes harmful when people do not adhere, to certain principles. It's commonly said that the right to swing your arm ends where my nose begins. And so with certain rights also comes certain responsibilities. And so in as much as we have the freedom of expression, we almost must be very well guarded that that expression is not used to harm other people. And that's where the line is kind of drawn. Disinformation campaigns have been seen to be used to target very vulnerable communities and undermines their truth, turns the narrative against them, and sometimes incites violence. We've seen the importance of people being able to speak their truth, which is why we also want to say, express yourself as much as possible. I want to support people to embark on how to document trustworthy evidence during election periods and after, or even before, so that the truth is constantly being put out there as a mode of expressing their truth, but at the same time that serves to counter any form of disinformation that might arise. So this project is not to stifle expression, rather is actually to safeguard the right kind of expression and ensure that we can curtail the negative use of the platforms.
South Africa is going to the elections. The Constitutional Court says we need to do this between the 27th of October and the 1st of November. where do you then begin as people who are looking out for disinformation to address that, given the very tight time frame? And when you do identify disinformation, what happens?
Great. So the project is launched and activities have already begun. We have several stages in this project with other partners, Pomizile, Van Dam, Code for Africa, Right to Know, Dr. Rosenstein. All of us have different aspects which we'll be engaged with. A lot of it would be involved with monitoring any form of disinformation and being able to capture that and then counter it. Another part of that involves a lot of media literacy, where we'll be organizing events that would be able to bolster people's understanding of how to spot and also how to counter disinformation. And so on your question as to what do we do when we spot it, we would definitely be able to capture it and then be able to release certain information that counters such disinformation campaign. And other things that we'll then be doing would revolve around empowering people to spot and counter disinformation themselves, and be able to stop it and stem it in its tracks, because it's easy to spread falsehood, and the truth always plays some sort of catch up, and that is so harmful in an election period such as this, and where nerves are very tense and emotions are very high. So yes, we hope that we'll also get the support of South Africans to be able to embark on this, because we cannot do it alone. We embark on this with the hope that people would also get on board, be as concerned about the potential harm that disinformation can cause, and also that they would also support and do their own part.
And as I was saying earlier, one of the areas that you're looking to explore is precisely why it is that South Africa's online community appears to be such fertile ground for the spread of disinformation.
Yeah, exactly, because we also saw just recently in the unrest in July how disinformation helped to fuel a lot of violence, and that is unfortunately being perpetrated a lot of times through social media. We've seen similar examples across the continent, with Uganda, with the elections earlier in the year, with Eswatini recently as well. And all of these are just signs that we have to pay more attention to this landscape. Even in the case of Nigeria, for instance, with the Twitter ban, where the government has stifled freedom of expression in a bid to control the narrative, those are steps being taken that are counter to a democratic society. And all of those are the things we're thinking about as we go into this project in South Africa. And hopefully we can also scale it beyond South Africa and make it a template for other parts of the continent to learn from as well.
The crucial question becomes then, who polices you? Who holds you accountable?
Very good. That's a very good question. We are as civil society groups ourselves, we are already accountable to the people. The communities that we serve hold us accountable. And that is exactly, so this will be super transparent. It will be done in the interest of the public. And so we welcome people to also challenge any steps that are taken. The constituents that hold us accountable are the people that we seek to serve through this process as well. And so it's open for all, it's transparent, it's going to be all out there, and people could raise questions, and we'll definitely be acting in consistency with all our track records. All these organizations that are collaborating on this project have a track record of being sincere and over time have been able to create change, not just in Africa, but outside of the continent. And so I think our track record also speaks for us. Nevertheless, the people are free to hold us accountable.
Adebayo Okeowo, good to speak to you on Newsfeed PM. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your work too.